ChatGPT said, Maya Brooks had always lived her life with a quiet rhythm. She was not the type of person who looked for attention or praise. She worked long hours at a small community clinic, helping people who could not afford big hospitals. Most evenings, she would walk home with tired feet, carrying a simple tote bag that often had books, a snack, and sometimes donated supplies for the clinic. That day was no different, at least, that's what she thought when she stepped onto the busy sidewalk. The city was alive with its usual noise, car horns, chatter from shopkeepers, and the faint music of a street performer somewhere nearby. As Maya walked, she noticed a young girl with curly hair skipping along the street. The child held a bright pink ribbon, twirling it in her small hand. Her laughter blended with the city's sounds, light and carefree. The nanny walking behind her seemed distracted, answering a quick phone call. The ribbon slipped from the little girl's fingers and floated toward the curb. Without thinking twice, the girl darted forward, chasing after it. At that exact moment, a silver sedan turned the corner, its wheels moving faster than the little girl could see. In that instant, Maya's instincts took over. She dropped her bag and sprinted the few steps, reaching the child just before she stepped into the car's path. Maya's arm wrapped around the girl's waist as she pulled her back to the sidewalk. The driver slammed the brakes, the sound of rubber screeching filling the air. People nearby gasped and shouted. The little girl clung tightly to Maya's arm, her ribbon forgotten, her tiny chest heaving with sudden fear. "Shh, it's okay," Maya said softly, crouching to meet the girl's eyes. "You're safe. Nothing happened. You're a brave little one." Her voice was calm, gentle, like she had spoken to frightened children many times before in the clinic. Slowly, the little girl's tears stopped, replaced by a shaky smile. She whispered, "Thank you." The nanny rushed forward, breathless, guilt all over her face. "Oh my goodness! Lily, are you all right?" I looked away for a second. Thank you, miss." She scooped Lily into her arms, apologizing repeatedly to both the child and Maya. But before Maya could answer, her eyes caught a man standing a few feet away, frozen. He wore a neat navy suit, his posture tall and confident, but his eyes were filled with shock and something deeper, gratitude. He had seen everything. Maya didn't know his name, and she didn't pause long enough to ask. The crowd slowly began to disperse. Some people patted Maya's shoulder, others shook their heads at the near miss. The driver of the car got out, pale and trembling, apologizing to everyone around him. But Maya stayed calm. She gave the girl one last reassuring smile, picked up her tote bag, and walked away quietly. To her, it was just the right thing to do, helping someone in danger, even if it was for a stranger. But the man in the suit didn't move. His name was Daniel Whitmore. He was not just any passerby, he was one of the city's wealthiest investors, known for his companies and his foundation. More importantly, he was Lily's father. He had been walking a short distance behind the nanny, letting his daughter enjoy a carefree stroll before an afternoon meeting. In those terrifying seconds, he had felt utterly helpless. But he had watched this young woman, a stranger, step in without hesitation to protect his little girl. That image of her courage stayed burned in his mind. As Maya disappeared into the crowd, Daniel pulled out his phone and dialed a number. His assistant answered immediately. "Yes, sir." "Find out who she is," Daniel said, his eyes still fixed on the corner where Maya had walked away. His voice was calm, but inside, his heart still raced. "I want to know her name." Maya, meanwhile, kept walking toward her small apartment, unaware of the attention she had drawn. She thought only about the little girl's eyes, wide with fear that quickly softened into relief. She told herself she would forget about it tomorrow, that it was just one of those moments in a big city where paths cross and then vanish. What she didn't know was that her path had already crossed with someone who would not let it. Morning light slipped through the thin curtains of Maya's small apartment. The city sounded softer at that hour, a distant bus, a neighbor's radio, the clink of cups from the cafe downstairs. Maya sat at her tiny table with a bowl of oatmeal and her worn notebook open beside it. She checked her list for the day: restock bandages, call the supplier about gloves, help Mr. Gonzalez with his prescription questions, and remind Mrs. Patel about her follow-up. At the bottom of the page, in a simple box, she had written, "Nursing school application 1 week left." She underlined it once and tried not to think about the fee she still needed to pay. She reached for her tote bag, made sure her lunch was packed, and took a quick look at the corner shelf where bills were stacked neatly. The top envelope was the power bill, nudging at her calm like a small wave hitting a rock. She inhaled, folded the notebook, and told herself what she always told herself: one step at a time, one good thing at a time. Then she headed to the clinic. The clinic on Maple Street wore its age honestly. The waiting room chairs were mismatched but clean. The front desk computer made a tiny whir whenever a new screen loaded. A cheerful poster on the wall read, "We see you. We hear you. You matter." Maya loved that poster. It set the tone for everyone who walked in. She greeted Mrs. Lopez, the receptionist, with a smile and went straight to the supply closet. She began counting boxes of bandages and gently shook the thermometer basket to see which ones needed new batteries. As patients arrived, Maya flowed from the front to the back like a steady breeze, checking a child's temperature, helping an older man fill out a form, soothing a nervous teenager with a kind word and a cup of water. Her kindness did not feel special to her. It felt like breathing. Around mid-morning, a polite man in a grey blazer stepped through the door. He had kind eyes, a careful walk, and a briefcase tucked under his arm. He waited patiently for a pause before leaning toward the desk. "Excuse me," he said. "I'm looking for the woman who helped a child yesterday near Pine and 3rd. I was told she might be here." Mrs. Lopez looked at Maya, and Maya paused in the doorway between the hall and the waiting room. She tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. "That might be me," she said softly. "Is the child okay?" "She's fine," the man said with a grateful nod. "Very fine. I on behalf of someone wanted to pass along thanks." Maya offered a gentle smile. "Thank you for coming. I'm glad she's okay." She thought it would end there. But the man reached into his briefcase and offered a crisp white card with only 3 letters printed in a careful font, DW, and a phone number. "It's just so you can reach out if you'd like," he said. "No pressure at all." Maya hesitated. The card felt too formal, like it belonged to a world that did not match the clinic's old posters and plastic chairs. She did not want attention. She did not want a spotlight. She wanted the little girl to be safe, and she wanted to get back to work. She thanked the man again and placed the card on the desk. When she turned to help the next patient, the man gave a small nod and slipped back out to the sidewalk. At lunch, Maya sat in the tiny staff room with a sandwich and an apple. Her coworker, Khalid, joked about the printer acting like it needed a vacation. She laughed, but she kept thinking of the white card. There was something about the 3 letters D.W that felt both distant and close. She opened her notebook and wrote, D.W call. Then she drew a small question mark. After lunch, a new detail began to ripple through the neighborhood. A few shop windows along Maple Street had a flyer taped to the glass. The flyers were simple: "To the rescuer please contact me," followed by the same phone number and the same initials, DW. The bakery had one, the corner store had one, even the florist had one beside a bouquet of daisies. People started whispering about it. Who was the rescuer? Who was DW? Was it something good? When Maya stepped out to pick up a package of mouth swabs from the pharmacy across the street, she saw a flyer too. She paused, read it twice, and felt heat rise to her cheeks. This was too much. She did not want people pointing, guessing, or telling stories about her. She walked back into the clinic, placed the swabs in the supply closet, and tried to let the world be the world while she kept being herself. Later in the afternoon, she gathered the outgoing mail referrals, a thank you note to a volunteer, and a small stack of receipts. When she dropped them at the front desk, Mrs. Lopez passed her a sealed envelope. "Someone left this for you," she said. No name on the return address. Maya turned the envelope in her hands. Inside was a simple card with careful handwriting, "Thank you for your kindness D.W." There was no check, no gift card, no offer that felt heavy. There was only the card and an invitation to meet at a public cafe on Willow Avenue at a time of her choosing. The words were respectful and short. They gave her room to say yes or no without pressure. That night, in her apartment, Maya placed the card beside the power bill. She warmed a bowl of soup and watched the steam drift up like a small cloud. Her phone buzzed with a message from her best friend, Tasha. "How was your day?" Tasha wrote. "Busy," Maya wrote back. "Also strange. Someone wants to meet to say thank you. DW flyers in the neighborhood. Not sure about it." Tasha replied fast. "Meet in a safe place. Choose the time and bring me along to sit nearby." "You know I will." Maya smiled. Tasha always knew how to be both protective and supportive. Maya looked at her shelf again, at the stack of bills, at the nursing school application form under her notebook. She pictured the clinic's broken exam light that flickered and made everyone laugh nervously. She thought of the seniors who came on Saturday mornings and the kids who peeked around the front desk to say hello. Maybe a simple meeting could be just that, simple. A thank you. A small bridge, not a flashy stage. She set the time for Saturday afternoon, sent a short message to the number on the card, and asked for the corner table by the big window at the cafe. She also texted Tasha, "Tomorrow, 2 p.m. I'll sit by the window. You sit by the door with a magazine and that serious face you do." Tasha sent a line of laughing emojis and one flexed arm. Done. Saturday came with clear skies. The cafe on Willow Avenue had big windows, round tables, and plants in simple pots along the sill. The smell of fresh bread and cinnamon hung in the air. Maya chose a table that felt open and safe. She wore her favorite soft blue sweater and tied her hair back. She arrived 10 minutes early and ordered tea. She looked out at the sidewalk, watched a dog lift its head as a child giggled, and felt the city's heartbeat, kind and steady. At another table, Tasha sat with a magazine turned upside down, pretending to read. Every now and then, she peeked over the top at Maya and gave her a small, encouraging smile. Maya's phone buzzed. "Arriving in 5, the message said. Simple, polite. Maya took a slow breath and told herself the same thing she told anxious patients: "You are safe, you are seen, and you are in control." She reminded herself that she had chosen the place, the time, and the setup. She had Tasha nearby. She had her voice. If anything felt wrong, she could stand up and walk out. A few minutes later, the cafe door opened, and a soft bell rang overhead. A man stepped inside. He was tall, wearing a charcoal coat over a white shirt and a slim tie. His hair was neat, but a little wind-tossed from the walk. He took in the room with a quick, careful glance that showed attention to detail. When his eyes found Maya by the window, his expression relaxed with relief and warmth. He moved toward her table. Before Maya could stand, a whisper moved across the room like a quiet wave. The barista leaned toward another barista. A customer at the counter tilted their head. Someone near the pastry case murmured, "Isn't that Daniel Whitmore, the tech investor?" Maya blinked. She had heard the name on the news or in passing articles about grants and projects, but she had never connected it to the letters on the card D.W. She felt her calm tilt, just a little, like a picture frame hanging slightly off-center. She looked at the man approaching. His eyes were kind. He was the father, she realized. The father who had seen everything. The father who had sent a quiet thank you instead of a heavy gift. He reached the table and stopped a respectful distance away, waiting for her to choose the first step. Behind him, Tasha lowered her magazine, eyebrows raised, eyes wide in surprise, then focused again like a loyal guard, ready if needed. For a heartbeat, the cafe seemed to hold its breath. Maya's fingers curled around the warm cup of tea. She heard the bell overhead settle into silence. She felt the weight of the moment not because of the name people were whispering, but because she now understood the 3 letters on the card. She had agreed to a simple thank you, and now it came with a new layer she had not expected. She set her cup down quietly. The city hummed outside the window. The plants on the sill leaned toward the light. Maya met his eyes, steady and clear. "Isn't that Daniel Whitmore, the tech investor?" the customer whispered again, just loud enough for the words to float in the space between them. Maya took a breath. The meeting had just begun. Daniel stopped by the cafe table, but he didn't sit down right away. He seemed careful, like he didn't want to rush Maya into anything. His eyes carried both relief and gratitude, and for a moment, Maya realized he wasn't just a businessman in a suit, he was a father who had almost lost his child the other day. "Thank you," he said quietly. "I don't think words can capture what you did for Lily. But I want to say it anyway, thank you for saving my daughter." Maya nodded, a little unsure how to respond. "She's a sweet girl. Anyone would have done the same." Daniel gave a small smile. "Not everyone. Most people freeze in moments like that. You didn't. You acted without hesitation, and you comforted her right after. That's something rare." They both sat down. The cafe buzzed softly with the hum of voices, clinking cups, and the smell of fresh coffee. Tasha, pretending to still be buried in her magazine, kept one ear tilted toward them like a silent bodyguard. Maya tried to steer the conversation away from herself. Lily seemed strong. Children recover fast when they feel safe. Daniel leaned forward slightly. "She is strong. But she's also young, and she means the world to me. I couldn't sleep for 2 nights just thinking about what could have happened if you weren't there." He paused, then added, "I wanted to meet you not only to thank you, but also to understand who you are. People show their true selves in moments of crisis, and you showed courage." Maya looked down at her tea, uncomfortable with the spotlight. "I'm just someone who works at a community clinic. That's all." But Daniel shook his head. "That's not all. Tell me more about the clinic." Maya hesitated but then spoke honestly. She described the small rooms, the limited supplies, the old machines that sometimes flickered out, and the long line of patients who trusted them because they had nowhere else to go. She mentioned the outreach days where they set up in the park with folding chairs and basic health checks. She didn't complain, she just described it plainly, with quiet pride for the work. Daniel listened closely, not interrupting, his brow furrowing as he imagined the gaps she described. When she finished, he said, "It sounds like you're doing important work, but without enough support. What would make it better?" Maya blinked at the question. She wasn't used to being asked what she needed. "We need more reliable equipment. A new exam light, maybe a portable blood pressure machine. And we wish we had a small fund to support trainees who want to learn basic care. But we manage. We always do." Daniel leaned back, thoughtful. Then he said something unexpected, "I don't just run a company. I also run a foundation that funds community projects. Normally, people come to us with proposals, but this time, I want to turn it around. I want you to design something small, local, practical, and I'll match every dollar your community raises for it." Maya blinked again. She hadn't expected an offer like that. "I'm not sure I'm the right person for this. I'm not a fundraiser or a leader. I just do my part at the clinic." Daniel smiled. "That's exactly why you are the right person. You care about people first. That's what matters. The rest can be built around that." Maya hesitated, then asked the question that was heavy on her heart. "Would this mean the clinic loses control?" I don't want outside money to change the way we work with the community. His answer came without pause. No. It has to stay community-led. My team can provide structure, but the voice should stay with you and the people you serve. For the first time, Maya felt a spark of possibility. She thought of Mrs. Patel, who always said her blood pressure machine never worked properly. She thought of the high school kids who wanted to learn first aid but couldn't pay for training. She thought of the families who came every Saturday hoping for guidance. Maybe this offer could help them. They agreed to set up a neighborhood listening session at the community center, where everyone could share what they needed most. Daniel insisted it had to be done openly, with neighbors speaking freely, and Maya appreciated that. Just as they were wrapping up, Maya's phone buzzed. It was a message from Mrs. Lopez at the clinic. Have you seen the blog? People are writing about the rescuer and the billionaire. Maya opened the link. There it was, an article with a blurry photo of her walking down Maple Street and a headline that made her cringe. Everyday hero saves girl, billionaire father seeks to thank her. Her chest tightened. She hadn't wanted this. She hadn't wanted attention or stories spun about her life. She looked up at Daniel, uneasy. I didn't ask for any of this, she said softly. Daniel looked genuinely apologetic. I know. And I promise you I won't let this turn into a spectacle. If you want, we can keep everything quiet. No cameras, no headlines. Just results for the people who need them. Maya studied him, searching for any sign of false promise, but his eyes were steady. She nodded slowly. All right. Let's try it. But it has to be about the community, not about me. Daniel extended his hand. Agreed. She shook it, and in that moment, something shifted. What had begun as a frightening near miss on a busy street was becoming the start of a new partnership. What Maya didn't know yet was that saying yes to this would bring challenges she had never faced before: doubts from neighbors, pressure from the media, and the weight of responsibility. But it would also bring something else, a chance to see what could grow when courage met opportunity. That night, as she walked home, the city lights glowed brighter than usual. She held her tote bag tighter, her mind filled with images of what might come next. She didn't know it yet, but the next chapter of her life had the community center buzzed with more life than Maya had ever seen on a weeknight. Folding chairs filled the main hall, and neighbors gathered in small groups, whispering, sharing worries, and waiting to see what this meeting was all about. The flyer had said simply, "Health Outreach Discussion, Your Voice Matters." That phrase had brought families, seniors, workers still in uniforms, even teenagers curious about what was going on. Maya stood near the front with a clipboard in her hand, her heart pounding. She wasn't used to standing before crowds. She was used to one-on-one conversations in the clinic, soothing, private, gentle. But tonight was different. Tonight, she had to help guide an entire neighborhood. Daniel arrived quietly, not drawing attention. He didn't walk to the front or claim a seat of importance. Instead, he settled into a chair in the middle row with Lily's nanny beside him. His presence alone made some people whisper. Several recognized him as a wealthy man who usually appeared in newspapers or on business panels. Maya noticed the stir, but she also noticed something else: he didn't interrupt. He simply listened. When it was time to begin, Maya cleared her throat and spoke. Thank you all for coming. I know evenings are busy, and I'm grateful you made the time. Tonight isn't about me, and it isn't about anyone from outside. It's about us, our community, and how we can work together to make healthcare more accessible. A murmur of agreement ran through the crowd. But almost immediately, questions and worries rose. One woman asked sharply, "Who's funding this? We've seen outsiders come in before, give us promises, and then leave." Another man added, "And if a big name is attached, will rents rise? Will small shops be pushed out because someone wants to develop the area?" The room grew tense. Maya felt the weight of every pair of eyes on her. For a moment, she wanted to shrink back, but she steadied herself. "Those are fair questions," she said. "This is why we're here. We need to make sure this stays local. Nothing will move forward without the community's agreement." She then tried something simple. She asked everyone to break into smaller groups and write down the 3 biggest health needs they faced day to day. Soon, paper sheets filled with handwriting were passed forward: seniors needing regular check UPS, families asking for weekend hours, mothers worried about children's dental care, workers requesting affordable prescriptions. When Maya read them out loud, she noticed how the concerns echoed each other. This wasn't about grand, complicated projects. It was about small, steady support. Then Daniel stood up, but not to give a speech. He raised a hand slightly and asked, "May I ask just one question?" The room quieted. "How do we make sure whatever we build lasts at least 5 years? Not a one-time event. Something steady." The tone of his voice was not that of a billionaire telling people what to do. It was a father, a neighbor, asking how to create stability. Slowly, the room softened. A retired nurse volunteered to offer her weekends. A grocery store owner said he could donate fruit for community health days. A teacher offered to let students help organize. The energy shifted. People started nodding, imagining the plan together. But just as things felt hopeful, a new problem arrived. Maya's phone buzzed with an email from the Foundation's legal team. She skimmed it and felt her stomach drop. The email listed conditions: the program would need to carry the Foundation's name, photos of participants would be required for reports, and media coverage might be expected. When Maya read the details out loud to the clinic director nearby, people frowned. A mother whispered, "I don't want my child's picture online." An elderly man said firmly, "We don't want this to be about someone's name carved on the door. This is about our health, not publicity." The air grew heavy again. Maya looked at the crowd and felt torn. She knew accepting the conditions would mean quick funding, new lights, new supplies, maybe even scholarships. But it would also risk trust. If people felt used, they might walk away, and everything could collapse before it began. On the other hand, pushing back might mean losing the offer altogether. She stood at the front, her clipboard trembling slightly in her hands. She took a breath, remembering how she had felt that day when she pulled Lily from the street. She hadn't thought twice about her own safety. She had just done what was right. Now, she felt the same instinct: do what is right, not what is easy. "Thank you for the offer," she said clearly, looking toward Daniel, "but here are the changes we need. No forced photos. No names larger than the people we serve. Transparency about every dollar. If we can agree on that, then we can move forward. If not, then maybe this isn't the right fit." The room went silent. Everyone looked from Maya to Daniel. Daniel's assistant shifted in his chair nervously. The clinic director crossed her arms, bracing herself for disappointment. But Daniel's face softened with a quiet smile. He raised his hand slightly, as though calming invisible waters. "Understood," he said simply. "I'll handle it." But for that moment, before he gave his answer, the room held its breath. The future of the program, and the fragile trust that had begun to grow, rested on what he would say next. Ked around the room at the worried faces. The silence after Maya's bold words felt heavy, like everyone was waiting for the ceiling to fall. But instead of tension, Daniel let out a slow, calm breath. "You're right," he said firmly. "This is your community. The Foundation's conditions will be changed. No forced photos, no flashy names, no hidden clauses. I'll speak to my team tonight. We'll do this on your terms." Relief washed over the room. A few people even clapped softly. Maya's shoulders relaxed, though her heart still raced. She had taken a risk, and to her surprise, Daniel had respected it. The meeting ended with neighbors signing up on volunteer sheets, a retired nurse offered weekly blood pressure checks, a teacher promised to help with scheduling, and a local grocer pledged crates of fruit every month. For the first time, the plan didn't feel like a dream. It felt real, possible, alive. The following weeks were busy. The foundation adjusted the paperwork, removing the strict conditions. Supplies began arriving, a new exam light, portable machines, and a mobile kit for outdoor screenings. But what truly excited Maya wasn't the equipment, it was the people. Volunteers showed up, bringing not just skills but heart. One Saturday morning, the community center held its first official health day. Children played outside while parents stood in line for check UPS. Seniors sat at folding tables, sipping water after screenings. Maya guided everyone calmly, moving from one person to another, checking details, answering questions. Daniel arrived quietly with Lily by his side. Lily carried 2 drawings, one of Maya pulling her away from a car, and another of the clinic with a bright sun above it. She handed them to Maya, who knelt down and smiled warmly. "These are beautiful," Maya said. "Can I hang them at the clinic?" Lily nodded proudly. Daniel watched the scene with quiet gratitude. He didn't give a speech, didn't ask for attention. He simply helped carry a box of fruit to the table and joined the line like everyone else. But not everything was smooth. A few reporters showed up, asking pointed questions. "Isn't this just a publicity stunt for a billionaire? Are you trying to make a hero out of one woman?" Maya answered with calm honesty, "This isn't about me. It's about all of us working together. The real story is here in this room, the volunteers, the neighbors, the families. That's what matters." Her words spread, but quietly, without drama. The article that appeared later was modest: "Community Clinic Expands with Local Voices Leading." Months passed, and the program grew steady. The mobile nurse visited schools on Wednesdays. Weekend screenings became routine. 2 young trainees received scholarships to learn basic medical care, promising to return and serve the community. Maya still worked long hours, but now the clinic didn't feel like it was running on fragile threads. It felt supported, stable. One afternoon, Maya opened a letter she had been waiting for, her nursing school acceptance. She stood by the clinic's doorway, sunlight spilling over the paper, tears welling in her eyes. She thought of every night she had doubted herself, every bill that had weighed her down, every quiet moment she had whispered, "one step at a time." Now, another door had opened. She told Daniel later that week. He smiled and said, "That's the best news I've heard all month. The clinic will miss you when you're away, but they'll also celebrate you. Because this isn't just your journey, it's the community's." The clinic staff decided to add a tiny sign on the door: "Community-led, community-owned." No big plagues, no bold logos. Just a small reminder of what they had built together. On the day the sign was placed, Maya stood outside with neighbors, smiling. Children ran past with laughter, seniors chatted on benches, and volunteers stacked supplies inside. It wasn't perfect, but it was better, and it belonged to them. Daniel approached quietly, carrying Lily on his shoulders. He nodded toward the sign. "That's exactly how it should be." Maya looked around, her heart full. She realized that the rescue on the sidewalk had not just saved a child, it had planted something much bigger, a sense of hope that grew when kindness and trust met courage and humility. As the sun set, painting the sky in soft shades of gold and pink, Maya locked up the clinic for the evening. She glanced back at the doorway, the sign glowing gently under the streetlight, and whispered to herself, "This is only the beginning." The gentle lesson lingered: sometimes, a single act of courage can ripple far beyond the moment. One step,